In this video, we're going to use the change of base in order to solve this logarithmic equation. So to do this, let's get the two bases to be the same. So let's convert this into, instead of base x, let's convert it into base 4. So on a blank space somewhere, set this block, set this block to y. So y equals this block. So our aim is to convert this block into base 4. At the moment it's base x. So from here, to convert to change the base, exponentiate both sides with base x. So that will be x to the power y, and then x to the power of this thing here. So in a way, these two, they cancel each other out, giving you this. So now we can use we can log base 4. So from here log both sides with base 4. So so log x, and remember the y is able to come down here, and then log base 4 of 4, which will be 1. And then now you want to get y on its own, because y represents this block. You want another way of representing this block. So get y on its own. So divide both sides by this thing here. That will then take you to here. Okay, so now, well, originally we were trying to solve this equation, and we wanted to convert this block, and it turns out to be this thing here. So we can put this into here. So this thing here will then become this, and then when you times 3, it becomes this. So so that will then take us to here, and then this stays the same, and then you've got your 7. Now when you get to this stage here, you got to stare at this for a long time, and then after a while you will realize that this is, in order to solve this, it is a bit like you solving the quadratic formula. So so this is in a way you trying to convert, well, you got to somehow convert this into this, because well, looking at this, you've got 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3. Times everything by log base 4 of x. So times everything by this thing here. So when you times this by log base 4 of x, that will then give you this thing squared. So look at this. This a here is your 2, and this x here is this thing squared. Well, hang on. Start again. We were here. Times everything by this thing here. So when you times this block by this thing here, it will then give you this thing squared. Now times this by this thing, that will then just give you 3. Times this thing by log base 4 of x, that will then give you this thing here. So now now let's rearrange this so that it is something equals 0. So so now take away this block from both sides. That will then give us this thing here. So notice that this is of the form is of this form. So you've got your 0, 0 here, and then you've got this thing squared, and then you've got this thing, and then this is your b here. Anyway, you're trying to make to make this whole thing here to be 0. So let's just concentrate on trying. Let's just imagine this as a bubble and this as a bubble. So that would be like you trying to do this. That would be like you trying to do this. 2 to the power of something squared, and then minus 7 something, and then plus 3 equals 0. You can see that this is of this form. Well, anyway, our next step from here would be to say let w equals this thing here. Okay, so let w equals that thing, and then we can put w into here, and then put w into here. So that will then become this. So now this is your high school maths. Just somehow concentrate on finding a w in such a way that the whole thing equals 0, and then later on we can convert it to the x. You see what I mean later. Well, anyway, let's try and solve w. So divide, well, you can just jump to the quadratic equation in order the quadratic formula in order to solve this, but I'm just going to use completing the square. So from here, divide everything by 2. So divide this by 2, divide this by 2, divide this by 2, divide this by 2. That will then give you this, and then it's then to complete the square, it's always half of this coefficient. So half of this coefficient is this, and then you minus whatever, and then blah blah blah. It will then give you this thing here. So W equals 3.5. So going back to here, hang on, we were trying to solve this whole thing here. We said let W be this thing here, and then W turns out to be 3.5, 3 and this half here. So so looking at this, so when earlier we said let W equals this thing here. Well, W we said is 3, or so that will then give us this thing here, or it could be a half. It could be a half. So that would be a half, and then log base 4 of x. So now we want to try and get x on its own. So from here, exponentiate both sides with base 4. That will then give you this, and then these two in a way cancel each other out, leaving you with x. But when you're here, ignore this step. Do that in your mind and just jump to this. So x equals 4 to the power 3. Now looking at this, in your mind, exponentiate both sides with base 4. That will then give you this, and then in a way these two cancel each other out. And by the way, this is a square root, so square root of 4 is 2. So so your answer would be x equals 4 to the power 3 and x equals 2. Okay.